Uh-huh.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode here of In the Zone. I'm Giancarlo Aulino, joined here as always, Chris Martelli, and we got to kick this off. It was a big night on Monday, first Raw under Triple H's head of creative role, and with him fully in charge and invested now in this new direction, Vince McMahon retiring a couple weeks back, and now that we're in this new era with WWE. What are your thoughts on the retirement, and what do you think of Triple H now heading up creative?
It's wild, man. We grew up with Vinnie Mac. I assume everybody that's listening grew up with Vinnie Mac. He had some questionable storylines, but Vinnie Mac is a creative genius. I think with Triple H, he's gonna strive in terms of building that personal relationship. I think with the wrestlers. Unfortunately, with Vinnie Mac, we all know that business was usually more important than any morale with any of the wrestlers that he had. So I think, I did send you a post seeing it was a quote from Triple H saying, I'm trying to benefit all the wrestlers in the back as much as I can in terms of storyline, building relationships with coworkers, just building that foundation that's just never ending. He doesn't want anybody to have, boiled emotions or go over to AEW on bad terms. I think this is a perfect time for wrestling all in all. I saw even Tony Khan, he's a little worried that some AEW stars might go to WWE because of how nice of a guy Triple H is. He knows the industry well. He came up from the bottom, and I don't know, man. Like, I got to ask that question because Tony Khan seems a little bit worried that some AEW guys might jump ship to WWE. Do you think that's more of a case now with Triple H in charge? Because I don't know how the AEW contracts work, man. I don't know if they're under contract for a while. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think some of them are under contract for another 5 years, so he
Oh,
doesn't have to worry about some of those guys. But CM Punk, I don't think he has to worry about. That ship sailed. I don't think he owes
yeah,
Triple
that's
H, so he's safe with him. MJF, I think he would have to be a little worried about because Cody now is in WWE and Triple H seems invested in that type of guy. But I would be worried about FTR. That's the team that you're heavily invested in with the Ring of Honor titles, and if they start like looking at their contract and be like, you know what, we think we can make more going back to WWE at the end of it, I think that's a team I would circle in that category for WWE to get back.
I mean, make no mistake about it, man. You look at the WWE right now, and we saw a great tag team match at SummerSlam, too, actually, but the tag division is not necessarily loaded right now. So if you can get FTR back with the creative mind of Triple H, that's that would be absolutely golden. But dude, I gotta ask this question because I think I said it last week. Triple H is a type of guy, dude, where I think the WWE title scene, I know we've been talking about the Lesnars, the Reigns, the McIntyre, the usual guys the last, 3 years, 4 years now. Do you see Triple H with a guy like him in charge? Do you see guys like Finn, like Ciampa, like Rollins, and maybe even a guy like Kevin Owens get a shot again? Or do you think that's more of a long-term situation?
Yeah, I think short term he's just gonna probably stick with what they had planned, like Drew, and if The Rock is available, I think that's another one to wrestle Roman. But if they take the title off Roman, I think we'll see Kevin Owens for sure. Seth Rollins, Riddle, Ciampa, maybe if Gargano comes back, I think he would be in the mix. And I like to see Bray Wyatt. That's a guy that he left. There was no real direction. He was getting a big push for a while, and then the whole thing with Orton and just lost steam there. But I think if Bray Wyatt comes back and brings Strowman and Eric Rowan with them, and they like really push that whole Wyatt family, I think Bray Wyatt would be one of the top guys that would be in that title picture.
That would be incredible, man. Bringing back Eric Rowan and Strowman, that would be incredible, honestly. And a guy like, again, this is to me, it's like hitting a reset button. I know a lot of guys that watch WWE, whether it's like me and you, where we're more into it than the average person, or you're a casual fan. Like a guy like Triple H being in charge is exciting, regardless of where they're at right now, what superstars are up, what superstars are injured. I think having a guy like Triple H in charge, dude, like that is a big deal and it's a big change. This is going to be, I think we're going to be seeing guys that we've never seen before atop the card. Like I want to say Finn Balor in a couple months might be a guy that might bring that demon character back. Now we do know he lost his undefeated streak, but maybe you build that character up again as we haven't seen it in a while. What does this mean for a guy like Randy Orton, who's really close with Triple H in the business, and he continues to just he ages like fine wine, man. He continues to get better, it seems like, and stay relevant. And how about AJ Styles, man? Like, and Ziggler. These are guys that are just they're cockroaches. They're on the card. They stay on it. It doesn't matter their age. So if you're a WWE fan, man, you got to be excited for having Triple H in charge. But again, Vinnie Mac, man, guy's an absolute legend, and you got to thank him for all the entertainment he gave us. Those, well, I started watching wrestling 2001, so it's been 21 years. So got to thank Vince for that.
Yeah, just all those moments he was a part of, man, backstage, and the whole feud with Shawn Michaels and God. He did a lot of wacky shit. So he gave a lot of moments, I guess, even for the Attitude Era. The stuff with Stone Cold and Mick Foley when he was just in that mode as Mankind with the character pushing in the hardcore title. So he was a part of that, gave some guys big pushes, and it's going to be different, but I think it's finally necessary. Like, the guy's pushing 80 years old.
Oh,
Needs to be a regular human being now. Now he can actually go out for a walk and not have to worry about the next business meeting at 7 a.m. He can watch a movie in a theater. He can go out to a dinner. Like, I don't think the guy's ever been out in public his whole life. So I think it's going to be different for him. Time to adjust retirement life.
time to take a vacation day, Vinny. Go to Aruba, stay on the beach, get a cocktail, whatever you like. He deserves it, man. It's been a long time coming for him. And dude, it's kind of similar to Don Cherry. I don't want to. I mean, obviously Don Cherry, what happened? It was a little unfortunate, but we've been talking about this for years now, man. Like when Don Cherry was doing Coach's Corner, it's like, okay, this guy is like 78 years old. When are they gonna kind of move forward with a new program? And all of a sudden, the same with Vinnie Mac. I remember I was talking with Collab about it. I think it was he was in the few. He was on TV. I think it was with AJ 2018 or 17. I'm like, when is Vinnie Mac gonna hang him up? Like he's 75, 76. So it had to come eventually, man. But I'm really happy that it went on Vinny's terms. He's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore.
It's like, send out a tweet. Okay, they got me. This shit's bad, but you know what? Just retire and they'll find out the rest, I guess. But I think he's eventually gonna be at WrestleMania. Like, I don't think he's gonna stay home for that, so he'll probably be regardless backstage. But I think it's like a breath of fresh air that Triple H and Nick Khan and Stephanie McMahon are in charge now of the product.
Yeah, man, it's exciting. Like the personal building is so important, man. I think that's something Vince McMahon never quite understood, because you talk about the CM Punks of the world. That guy could have been a megastar with WWE, and unfortunately, I guarantee you've watched his documentary. Like it just it felt like Vince never gave a shit about him. Like genuinely did not care about him as a human being. So I mean, I know business is important, but for Vince McMahon, that's what it was all about. It was more old school. Whereas with Triple H, man, it is going to be I think, a more two-way dynamic where, yeah, it's business, but at the same time, I'm trying to please these guys as much as I can. So regardless, man, it's just, yeah, it's refreshing. It's so refreshing.
And did you see they had the tryouts? Like they usually do that at WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and all that. Dwight Howard was stealing the show over there with his promo. Like, do you think he could be a guy that goes into WWE? You think this is just like a trial, like maybe try it, do a couple promos, but he'll be back in the NBA?
Never say never with WWE. Dwight Howard, man, he's got the height. We've seen, Great Khali has gone into WWE. That guy has no charisma whatsoever. I will say, if Vince McMahon was in charge, I think Dwight Howard would have a better shot. But Triple H does understand marketability, and Dwight Howard, if he were to go to the WWE, let's say 3-4 years from now, that guy's a borderline top 100 player in NBA history. I think it's not the dumbest idea, but I think for now, man, it was just it was just like an advertisement. I don't really think it was anything serious.
Fun night at just hanging out with Big E at SummerSlam. It was good to see Dwight Howard. That video online, just invested in that whole character, and I think NXT would be fun if, since it's in Orlando, former Orlando Magic legend Dwight Howard comes out once in a while. It would be fun, but in terms of like WWE, like I don't know, man. You're gonna put him in the ring with Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley. Could be a little rough.
Yeah, man. I mean, do you remember the feud with Shaq and Big Show?
Oh yeah.
Like, if they really wanted to speed up this whole idea of Dwight Howard being a WWE superstar, can't you just see Dwight Howard coming out and locking horns or just butting into a guy like an Omos just for like a segment? And it's just like we'll see Dwight and Omos choking each other out, and then that's it. And then we never hear from him again. So I think your idea with the NXT in Orlando is a much better idea, but I wouldn't be surprised, dude, if like they have Dwight Howard take on Omos.
Oh man.
Just a
so much.
train wreck.
Just promote it like that. Like this match is gonna be bad. Let's just put it out there. Let's have a good time. Just see almost looking like Bret Hart out there would be fun. But another thing that happened on the weekend was that matchup with Brock Lesnar, that the Tractor, him and Roman. I know a lot of people weren't too happy about it going into it, like, oh, these guys are gonna wrestle again, but this was probably their best match one-on-one that they've had in this whole like entire rivalry. So you think this is a nice end to it, or do you think we'll see it again like in a year or two?
I hope that's it. I mean, they both had each other's number. Lesnar had it more in the past, where Reigns has had it recently. I just think it ended perfectly, man. Again, it's a no DQ, last man standing. He has the numbers. You know, he had the Usos with him. Brock Lesnar F5ing Heyman was just gold. I never thought Heyman would take a bump like that, but I guess they rehearsed it enough times for him to be comfortable to take it. Dude, that spot with that table and Brock getting cut open and then Brock literally picking up that table and hitting it over Reigns' head. I thought it was going to start to get, dude, call me crazy. I thought it was going to start being WrestleMania 31 all over, where it was going to be like really like personal and they were going to actually beat the shit out of each other. But, you know, Brock was a little more respectable in character, goes on the tractor, just absolutely rips the arena apart, which to me was entertaining as hell, the ring. And like, dude, the fact that even a guy like Austin Theory coming out, being involved in the madness, I thought that was absolutely perfect because it kind of teased it. They had Theory just absolutely level Roman with the briefcase. Like, you heard it. Goes down, and then, of course, Brock just F5 in him or suplexing him. But all in all, man, that match was incredible. The last man standing match I think still was a tad better was Owens and Reigns at Royal Rumble. I think that was a little bit better, but with these two guys and the amount of, you know, marketability that they bring and the entertainment that was behind the match, I think just made this easily the best match between the two.
And now with Brock, like, probably going to be out for a while.
Oh yeah.
When he comes back, I think he's advertised for day one, but I can't see him miss a Saudi Arabian payday. Maybe he'll just come out for a bit and F5 Theory and go home. But who do you want to see him wrestle when he comes back?
Oh man, I always like when he faces the little guys. I think Sami Zayn would be pretty funny. They have that, you know, goofy kind of history, like not really, but they have a history. There's not many names out there that I can really pinpoint, but I mean, Sheamus isn't really doing anything. If you really wanted to do something different, you could have Sheamus take on Brock Lesnar. There's some names out there. I don't know the direction with Brock because, dude, he's been so popular as a babyface. I don't think anybody anticipated this. So if he comes back, let's say January, and, you know, either you have the fans that care about him or just don't give a shit about him. If you turn him heel at that point, like, I think it's going to get backlash, and I think that's not going to benefit Brock at all. So again, if he comes back for Saudi, if he comes back for day one, he has to be taken on a heel, man, because we need more of Cowboy Brock. The guy's so charismatic.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like, I wouldn't mind him going after the tag titles. Like, if they want to do something with Sami Zayn and him going after the Usos, or even him and R-Truth, if they do a comedic segment there. But one match before Brock retires, I want to see him, Lashley, Gunther go at it, triple threat,
Oh
beat the shit out
man,
of each other, get some tractors involved, and have themselves a time.
I just loved at the pay-per-view too, man, when the announcer was saying his name and he's like, shut up. And then he starts saying his name. He's like, what do you say? He's like the cowboy loving Brock. He's like, I came here to beat Roman's ass. I'm just like, oh, this is great, man. We need more of this Brock. Where was this Brock, man? Like, we had the same old boring ass monster for what, 4 or 5 years, and now you get this. And this is when we wanted him to leave. So
That's a nice change finally. And even on Raw, we saw Edge. He returned at SummerSlam, and then on Raw they carried it over. And I was talking about like Ray turning heel, and I don't know, on Raw I kind of got that idea a little bit. Like everyone was on Twitter talking about Dominic, but Edge comes out, the spear and everything. He's helping them, but he spears Dominic by accident, and Ray's in the ring all pissed off. Like, could there be like a crazy idea where Ray goes after Edge and it eventually leads to a heel turn?
if it does, I think it should be a long-term build because right now the whole momentum is on Edge versus Judgment Day, and I don't know if you want to do Edge versus Finn one-on-one for now. But I did get that as well. You know, he comes out and he accidentally, but Edge is the type of guy where if he accidentally spears you, he's not going to say sorry. He's not going to do any of that. So he just kind of looked at Dominic. He's like, all right, you took a spear. Congratulations. So, I mean, Ray and Edge have history too, man. They go way back, tag teams. They've been in singles matches before. I'm down, man. Like if this is gonna be a end of the road type of, you know, what I think I want to say by the end of 2023, Ray's done. So I mean, if this is gonna be a part of his, you know, farewell tour, we got to accept it and we got to just soak it all in because Edge and Rey Mysterio are two childhood legends, man. That's just awesome.
And speaking of childhood legends, I got to bring this up because this man is a childhood legend for like 5 generations. Ric Flair had his one of his last matches. Apparently, it's his last one. I doubt it. He'll probably have another 10, but he went out, him and Andrade against Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, who was just like a menace out there, getting into fights with people in the crowd. He was full on heel. This was like a real Forbidden Door event because you had Undertaker, Bret Hart, Mick Foley, Jerry the King Lawler was there, Tony Schiavone. So a lot of AEW, WWE guys, Impact, and Ric Flair went out with a W, and it kind of looked rough at the end of it. He was bleeding, struggled at the end, like shaking with the brass knuckles spot, but he got through it and cut a nice little promo thanking everyone. But do you hope that this is his last match?
I do, yeah. This is a guy that has been doing it since my dad was watching wrestling. And, you know, you look at his health and the reports come out that, oh, this guy's on blood thinners. And it's like, oh, my God. Like, there's only so much more you can do. And, yeah, you know, you could prove a point. I mean, you sent us his vignettes. Wow. Incredible promo work. But, I mean, what else does he have to prove, man? Like, this is a guy. I got a shout out to Jeff Jarrett, too. Like, he had a hell of a match. This is a guy when we saw him at SummerSlam. I don't think I've ever seen him in better condition, honestly. Like he looked pretty jacked, pretty amped up. He was a pretty decent ref too, nonetheless. But with Ric Flair, man, like this has to be it. I mean, I'm down for. Don't get me wrong. I'm down for the promos on Instagram and Twitter. I'm down for that. But don't step in the ring again, man. That's just to me. I'm a very nice and like, you know, I really like looking out for people. So when I saw that match, man, I was on my seat the whole time. I was very concerned. I'm like, okay, I get it. But like you mentioned, when he picked up the fucking and you see his hand just shaking, I'm like, okay, like you got to end the match soon. And, you know, shout out to Jay Lethal too. He was absolutely phenomenal. And it was cool also to see Andrade in his corner in his potential final match because we know how much that means to him. We know how much that means to Charlotte and Ric Flair. So I think it's a full circle moment, Aulino. I think this is going to be the end of it. And I mean, honestly, I just call me crazy because everybody has a different Mount Rushmore. I think this guy might be number one on that list.
Oh yeah, I agree with you there. And I think like this actually like for the match what it was, like it does show like there's possibilities there. Like you get a couple legends together and showcase like different companies. Like they did pretty well. Like on TV it looked like they had a sold out, close to sold out arena. Like visually it looked good production wise. Like would you want to see more of these if you get like a legend that is capable of like maybe going 5 minutes and they mix in together with different companies on an independent show like that?
You already know where I'm going with this. If it's Goldberg, I'll say no. But if it's anybody else, like let's say you get 5 minutes of Eric Bischoff or Shane McMahon or someone of that nature, maybe even you get a Zeb Coulter make an appearance. Who knows, right? I'm down for that, but like another guy that I know he's with AEW, I'd like to see Taz go in the ring again. I don't know if he can. Mick Foley, his hip, poor guy. I mean, that's a guy that's definitely done. But I think, dude, the crazy thing is, you could call me out on this or not. I'm not really sure. But when we were watching wrestling growing up, and there are so many guys right now that are still going, like Edge, Ray, Christian, Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, like all those guys are still going at a pretty decent clip. Do you think at some point in time they're going to have to make this a promotion and actually say, listen, we'll sign Jeff Hardy, we'll sign Matt Hardy for a night. We'll give you guys like $30,000, $40,000 to wrestle a night. Because honestly, man, like if this is going to be a thing, like you said, what better person than to start a trend than Ric Flair? So I think this has to be a thing moving forward. I don't know how successful it's going to be. Like again, guys that are Hollywood like Rock and Cena, you won't see there, but I think the passion behind where they come from, like Cena, you got to remember he's a small little kid. Like he was a little kid from UMass. This is a guy that grew up with not much. So if Cena could eventually go back to WWE or wrestling in general, maybe you can promote one of these shows and really see how it goes because dude, it doesn't hurt to try. Like we saw Ric Flair and Jeff Jarrett go at it, and it actually was a great marketable performance. So anything's possible. But what do you think about that, man? Because like you have so many guys that we've watched growing up, and they're still going.
Yeah, I'm good with it. If like once a year, like you promote like someone's last match, let's say, and you want to just bring people in together, like promotion wise, I know TNA went a little overboard. They signed everybody, and that was like the weekly show, a Legends show, pretty much. With you had Booker T, Scott Steiner. It's like they're trying to go back to WCW, but I think with this event, it kind of leaves you okay. Once a year, we can have a legend, have one match, and we'll make a big thing, make it special. But I don't know with Ric Flair, like I think Hulk Hogan's probably looking at this and
Oh
saying, you know
yeah.
what, I got one more in me, and I would not be surprised if Hulk Hogan's getting some offers to do one match. But if it's not WWE, like, do you think it would have that same impact?
It's hard because again, WWE is the wrestling. Like it's the be all end all promotion. If you're gonna tell me a guy like Chris, what's his name, like Christopher Daniels were to do it, I probably wouldn't get as much, traction. But again, dude, like there's wrestling fans everywhere. I think it would get promoted, but again, like if it's a Hulk Hogan, that's at a different level. I was thinking along the lines, call me crazy, man. If you could this because this just brings back memories of SmackDown '05. You see Booker T versus Kurt Angle.
Oh,
Promoting that, I think like they're both in similar situations. Booker T still wants to go, and so does Kurt. So I think why don't they go one time at an event like this? Like doesn't hurt any of them.
I think like also opponent wise too would have to be the right guy. Like look at Jeff Jarrett, like he's pretty much in good shape, and I think this was also like a good last big main event match for him. It was like TNA Jeff Jarrett going out there, and Jay Lethal. Like I wouldn't if they did like the Hulk Hogan thing. Like I think Jay Lethal wouldn't be a bad choice. It's gonna be Black Machismo and come out like Macho Man and make a big thing. But I can't think of really like other than Ric Flair. Like who do you think is on that level that would take a risk at their age and go out there?
take a risk. I mean, you can't say Bret Hart because
Oh, poor guy.
yeah, he can't do it anymore. I would say Shawn Michaels, man. That's probably the only guy, but he's like not in the shape that Ric Flair's in. Like he's in pretty good shape. I still think Kurt Angle, man. Like I'm circling his name. He's a wrestling god. He's known by so many people. If there is an age that I would say it, but he's with AEW and it's Sting. Sting, what he's been doing is remarkable. Do people really want to see Kevin Nash get in there? I mean, maybe. I'm not really sure with that, but who do you think, man? Because I got to stick with the WWE guys. I got to stick with Kurt. I got to stick with Booker T. Even like, would you put Jerry in there? I don't really know.
That guy wrestles like once in a while and those little indie Memphis shows, but it could be risky. If they did him and Ziggler, I think that would be the only way to do it. Because Ziggler and him, like you're safe. Like you can't put him in with Goldberg, because that would kill someone. But I don't know. I like to see like guys like RVD do something. I think he could do it. Kurt Angle, if he gets his health back, like to a point where it's safe to do it, him too. But I think Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, like I think Shawn Michaels has one more match. I think Undertaker, even though he retired in that WrestleMania cinematic match, there's something that feels like he needs to retire with a crowd. So I got Undertaker wrestling one more time.
That would be awesome, man. I again, like you talk about all those legends there. If you could put Kurt Angle and even with his health, maybe at what Ric Flair's was at, he's not really sure he can go, but he'll do the promotion and the promos. Why not? Why not Cesaro? Like, why not throw Cesaro with Kurt Angle? I think that would be must see. At least in my eyes, that'd be must see. Or if you really want to really go down to the nitty gritty and go back on history, dude, you mentioned RVD. Why don't you go with CM Punk versus RVD? That would be just marketable to all hell. So again, it is a cool idea with once a year, but you do need, like you mentioned, that marketability, because if not, it's only going to get about 500 people and no one will really talk about it, man. So it's got to get that marketability. And, all the names you said, Sean, Taker, definitely RVD. I think they could all pull in a crowd.
Nah, we don't want them in some dingy 200-seat gym in a high school.
Oh,
so
no.
If they can draw in the crowd, do it. If you're going to do it for like 50 people and you're lucky to get a slice of pizza and a hot dog, I think you should stay home and on the couch and play the video game.
If Hulk Hogan were to go to a ring and see 200 seats, you best believe he's walking out.
he'll manage to get in between the ropes and like, you know what? This was a good idea while it lasted. It's not enough for me, brother. Let's go home.
He'll literally pick up the mic. He'll be like, "I'm at the suit. Oh no, where am I? I'm in a gym. Okay, I'm leaving." Like that's just how
right out the fuck over here. I'm out of here now. Leave out the ring and go in his nice little car and jet off.
Just get out of here. Gotta love it.
But now we'll go on to other big news in the NHL. Like we're talking about that big trade with Calgary and Florida. Matt Tkachuk going to Florida and signing that ridiculous contract that pays him all in signing bonuses every July. So he's going to have a nice summer every year. And through the season, it's obviously a low cap hit, but Huberdeau was a big talking point. Like if he doesn't re-sign, it's going to look bad. He ends up re-signing for 8 years, $10.5 million. And it's, again, another signing bonus heavy deal. What do you think this does for the Flames now? And I guess, is this more positive on their market, knowing that we lost a star, but we're getting back an equally talented guy in return?
They had to do this, man. This is a guy, he's 29, 30. He's been in the league for a while. He's coming off a career year. People on Twitter and Instagram saying that it's overpaid. I agree with you to some extent, though. This is a guy that he'll definitely change the culture of Calgary, and they needed a culture change with Tkachuk and Gaudreau waving goodbye on that moped or whatever the hell that was on Twitter. That was just absolutely hysterical. But now, Calgary fans, it's getting positive because you get Huberdeau for 8 years. I said to you before the pod, I guarantee you he's the captain now of this team. If he's not, I will be significantly shocked. I think at any given point now, Aulino, I think Monahan is going to be bought out. It's sad to say, but his hip and his back have just given out at such a young age. I don't know if it's his injury management that he wasn't really good at. Maybe he didn't take care of himself. Maybe he didn't know he had a nagging injury, but that injury killed him. But in terms of the Flames, they had to make this. If you're going to lose Huberdeau, let's say in February, and you get rid of Makachuk, and then you look at the return and it's Uyghur, that's just not good enough. So the fact that they stay with Huberdeau, they bite the bullet. Yes, it is a little bit too much, and it is all up front. He already got most of it, but this is a guy, dude, that I think he could carry this team, maybe not to a Stanley Cup final, but I think some Calgary fans that I saw on Twitter were saying that blow it up, like the rebuild's coming. I think now you could actually, I mean, I could at least see them battling with LA for that wild card spot in the Western Conference, because Huberdeau and Lindholm are guys that I can see absolutely torching teams night in, night out. And you have Mackenzie Weegar, who I think he will sign an extension, and you got Noah Hannafin. So there's a lot of guys there, like even Mangiapane coming off 35 goals, no one talks about. He just re-signed too. This is a team where Markstrom's a big deal. I think Huberdeau's signing is just the tip of the iceberg. I think, dude, they could be buyers come the trade deadline. Like, we really have no idea with Calgary. They're a team where you don't know what their ideology and their outlook is, but I think with Huberdeau, it's more positive than negative at this point.
Yeah, also, like, they did, like, under the radar type moves. Like, Mangiapane, no one really talks about. They got a pretty good return for him. Like, it's not a crazy salary they paid him, but they have Huberdeau now long term, Lindholm. I think Toffoli's a couple years, so they have a lot of guys that could push for that spot. Markstrom, it helps they have a Vezina caliber goalie in net. But if there's one guy that you think they need to add, is it Kadri, or do you think that ship sailed now?
It should be Kadri. This is a guy, not a guy. This is a team in, like I mentioned with Monahan. You can't be rolling with Backlund as your second line center. I don't think that's good enough, and I don't think that's feasible. He's going to get you 50 points, maybe, but like being on the second line in a top-heavy Western Conference, that's not going to get it done. So I know they have a couple names like youngsters like Dylan Dubé and Mangiapane. Like, I know Mangiapane at times is playing center, but yeah, I like how you brought up Kadri. He's still not signed, surprisingly. I think if Calgary can go out and try to, give a nice pitch saying, hey, look, we just locked up Huberdeau, a guy that led the league in assists. Like, you can potentially be a 35, 40 goal scorer. So if I'm Calgary, I'm going balls to the wall with Kadri. I'd probably offer him $7.5 million. I know his camp wants $9 million, but I said it to you 2 weeks ago. He's not a first-line center in this league. A really good player, but not a first-line center. So I think he has to start realizing, as John Klingberg did, that teams are not going to go out there and overpay for a type of guy that you can get in the market 6 months from now. So if I'm Kadri, if I'm the Flames, I'm trying to work out a deal between 6.5, $7 million.
Yeah, I agree there. Like, it has to the GM has to know, like, okay, that's a good free agent, but if you're just doing it to make a move and it's gonna ruin your chances at the trade deadline when you want to add more, I think it's better to keep it like this with Huberdeau and maybe overpay on a guy that's proven in the league. But do you think the Klingberg deal, eventually it's just going to be a trade deadline piece where they bought it for now just to get whatever asset in March?
Yeah, I think so. I think and Anaheim is very smart in that regard, because you look at their team and yeah, they're going to be good in 2-3 years, but right now getting a guy like Klingberg makes no sense. So they have Drysdale in the pipeline. They got a couple other guys on D that could easily play 25 minutes as soon as next year. So Klingberg going there, I know he was basically in it for the money. No, I guarantee you no other team offered him $7 million. So he got the $7 million. He ran with it for 1 year, but I do like what you mentioned there. I think come February, if there's a team like Nashville, if there's a team like LA, if there's a team like Edmonton who's out there and they have that little bit of salary cap space, maybe a guy goes on the LTIR, I think Klingberg will be scooped regardless. Even the Leafs, like, call me crazy. If you can manage to trade Muzzin, maybe you can offload another forward. You could bring in Klingberg in February, March. That's another option too. So We do know that Anaheim is, I still think they're rebuilding. A lot of guys are saying, no, they're good enough to be a bubble type team. I don't see it yet. I'll give Zegras another year or two, but very smart move from Anaheim for sure.
Yeah, because Anaheim still has Gibson. Like, I think they're gonna look at moving him too. But like Zegra, he's good, but like I wouldn't put him there like leading a team to a cup just yet. So
No,
like
no.
I like what you said there, like Klingberg, and it's a good, I guess, showcase for him. Like if he does well and starts getting close to a point per game as an offensive defenseman, maybe you can get more than one first round pick back and just get a bidding war for him. So I think that's going to be Anaheim's goal there, and you can continue to develop other guys. Klingberg coming in, it's been to a cup final. So I think it just helps their team. But like with Gibson, do you think there's still a market for him, or is this contract just gonna make it tough for teams?
I think it's also his attitude a little bit because I remember what I saw with the Leafs. He basically said flat out, like, I don't want to go play there. And, I get it. You've been in the league for 10 years, but you can't really have that mentality because it's going to rub the wrong way on a lot of other owners and GMs. So he's still a hell of a goalie, probably a top 20 goalie in the league. But when you have that, that attitude and that morale, like I feel like he's a guy that can shut down some morale in the dressing room. I say it all the time, man. Anthony D'Angelo is incredible, but the guy is a nutcase. This is a guy that, like, the fact that him and Tortorella are on the same team, that's must see. Like, that is going to be electric. But getting off topic here, Gibson, I don't know if they can trade him, honestly. The team that, to me, that I think could use a John Gibson other than the Leafs is probably a team like Ottawa, where, yeah, they went out and got Cam Talbot, who, that could be either really good or really bad. But if Ottawa's going to be as good as they are in a year or two, why not go out and get a 30-year-old goalie in John Gibson? And trust me, I guarantee Gibson, if you were to look at the top six in Ottawa, he'd want to go there.
Yeah, you mentioned Tortorella too, and he's a new coach there in Philly. And you've seen Philly just as a complete market give up on any goalie that's come through that system. So, do you think they'll give up on Carter Hart and maybe look at Gibson to bring in?
If they give up on Carter Hart this soon, I will be so shocked because they did it with Bobrovsky, and look how that panned out.
That was bad.
So I think they even did it with Steve Mason too. Like, they've given up on goalies way too soon in the past, and that's bit them in the ass. I mean, dude, I'm holding on to Carter Hart for another 2 years. Just keep going with it. This team is not getting any better anytime soon, unless Ryan Ellis turns into like Drew Doughty next year. I don't see Philly making the playoffs. Sean Couturier did miss majority of the year, and we saw what he could do, but like, dude, the expectations, it's so unfortunate because when you're given expectations of being that next Carey Price as that Canadian goalie, it's just so hard to live up to. And we've seen with Carter Hart, it just hasn't worked out so far. I'm not saying give up on him, but I will probably give him an ultimatum. If, let's say, Philly does tremendously improve with like a trade deadline piece, maybe they get an attractable name and they go on a run and Carter Hart still isn't producing well, then maybe I would call GMs maybe next offseason saying, hey, look, we have a 24-year-old goalie. If you really want to try and get him, why not? So we've seen it in the past so many times with guys like goalies emerge out of nowhere. Like, look at Kakkonen last year with Minnesota. Carter Hart needs that one shot. And I think if he can get it, he will shine. I just hope Philly doesn't let him go because I have this feeling he's going to be special. I think it's going to take him a little bit of time, but I think he'll do what Holtby did because Holtby came up at like 27, 28. I think Carter Hart needs a couple more years, and then we'll see real time Carter there.
Yeah, he has a lot of potential still. I think it's still too early to give up on a guy like that, especially like all the promise he came in with. Like you said it there with Bobrovsky, and he went to Columbus there with Torts, and he totally turned it around and became the Vezina winner. So I think with goalies like that, you gotta slow down the expectations, maybe surround them with a veteran backup. And it worked for Holtby in Washington because like every year they were bringing in another guy. Like Halak came in, and then like he finally took over and got his starts and won them a cup. So I think it's just timing. And a lot of times teams get a little restless there and they fire their coach, and there's two big names still available in Quinnville and Mike Babcock. So how much longer do you think those two guys stay out of the league cashing checks and get that itch to get back in there?
That's on a personal level, man. I don't know. I mean, we saw Babcock in the media and Quinnville get roasted. So, I mean, time heals everything, as we've seen, but I'll say another year or two. If Babcock being reunited in Detroit would be pretty cool, because Iserman I feel like would be a guy to tell him like, okay, like I'm giving you a chance here. You got to mature. You cannot be cutting that. Who's the worst teammate? You can't be doing that on Detroit. You groomed everybody here. You're a 2-time Cup champion here. Just because again, dude, you look back on history, Babcock is honored quite fit. Like he's a big time deal in Detroit. So if there's one team for sure, I think Detroit would call for Babcock. But with Quinnville, that's a different subject. That's tough to monitor. I want to maybe say you're gonna laugh, but like maybe Buffalo, like a team that they don't have a big time marketable threat. You know what I mean? Like it's a team where of that nature. Like, oh, Joe Quinnville's on the team. Okay, like if it's an original six, I'll say absolutely not. But you never know, man. Quinnville is one of the greatest.
Think Arizona, they got the time to kill with that little 5,000 seat arena that looks like a community rink. So pay up a little, bring in a coach to just further along the process get some hype there. Do you think that would be a good fit?
I think it would be a great fit for Arizona and for that rink, but I think Quinnville would be killing himself. I think he would be I don't think he'd be a happy dude, honestly, man. I mean, shout out to Arizona, though. Like, it's going to be fun. A new rink. It's going to look like completely different on TV. I can't wait to see the first broadcast with that. But yeah, with Quinnville, if they zoom in on the coach and you see Quinnville behind the bench at a 5,000 rink stadium, you're not going to see a happy Quinnville, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is what it's going to look like. Imagine selling like tickets. Like you can see from literally anywhere. There's no platinum. There's no gold. There's just get in the arena and make it look nice. So I don't know what they're going to do with that. Tickets must be dirt cheap, but they do got to make money, and it's a university rink. So I don't even know who's going to make the money out of that. Like, will the university be taking a cut of the profit? They got themselves in a little sticky situation there. But speaking of Arizona and legends, Phil Kessel is a free agent, and I was looking at an article of like 3 possible destinations, and I saw Edmonton top of the list, Minnesota, and I think Calgary was the other one. Do you think he does go to any of those teams, or do you think he just waits until like training camp starts and he joins the team after preseason?
It's funny because I've talked to numerous people on Phil Kessel and his availability and what they expect from him. Dude, some people think he's washed and he's not good to even make $2 million. But then there's guys like you and I who think in a right situation, you can give him $3 million. If Kapanen's getting 3.2, Kessel should get 3.2. That's how I look at it. Minnesota is very, very interesting with Fiala on the way out. That opens up a winger spot. You could put him on the second line with maybe Eriksson Ek, and you could have Ryan Hartman, or maybe, I don't know, you could have a guy like what's that other guy's Jordan Greenway there. But again, I think Edmonton is probably the most attractable if I'm personally Phil Kessel. If I'm looking at a team to go to, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, you're even potentially playing with a 11-time veteran, a very underrated player in Nugent Hopkins. So if Phil Kessel can get on that top 6, maybe even be third line on 5-on-5 and then power play, I think that only benefits him. And he's another really reliable player, man. This is a guy that was the Ironman player other than Keith Yandel. He doesn't miss a lot of games. So in that regard, when you look at his intangibles and how he doesn't miss games and he can still get you possibly 20 to 25 goals in the right system, I think any team should be lucky that he's still available. And if you can get him at a bargain, I think it's a home run. Either way, I'd grade that an A+, but I'll say Edmonton for sure.
Yeah, I'll say Edmonton too. Like obviously the Leafs would be a perfect fit, but they decide to give other guys no moves, so
Bobby
their hands are
Kubel.
tied. Yeah, let's throw money at that guy. But I think Edmonton, they got Hyman too. Like he's used to playing with two-way guys, and they could free up a lot of space for him. You could put him on the power play first unit there with Draisaitl and McDavid on the wing, and I don't know. Do you think that would put them, and like when the season starts, would they be a cup favorite, like in terms of all the odds that come out, or you think they would still need to make another move on defense to do it?
I think as of right now, man, they're top five. So I think if you add a Phil Kessel, depends on who you're talking to. They're either boosted up to top two or they're in the same spot. But this is to me very similar to 2016 Pittsburgh. If you're going to get Phil Kessel, he can be your second, third scoring option. He doesn't have to do much. That's a scary thing, man. He can get you 45 points in the regular season. You could even potentially you could do the Kawhi Leonard. You could play him like 60 games in the regular season. Maybe March comes around. He sits out a little more. He gets a random undisclosed injury that we don't know about. And then they rest Phil for the playoffs, and there you go. He could turn into Justin Williams all over again like he did in 16. So I honestly, man, I'm going to tell you right now, I might put an early wager on Edmonton to win, regardless without Kessel, because I think this is the year where McDavid, kind of like what we saw with McKinnon, where he's like, I haven't really won anything. I think McDavid is going to look at those interview tapes that McKinnon said, and I think it's going to motivate him. And I see McDavid winning one in a couple of years, but I'll say next year, definitely cup contenders, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I see Matthews up there too with goals. I think he's going to be pushing for 70 now that he's got through 60, and Marner up there too. Those are going to be two guys to watch. And then you look at Edmonton, and if you add Kessel on that group, I think you got to be like, even if you don't want to ruin the Iron Man streak, maybe 5 minutes period there and keep them out just for 15 minutes, or give them 2 minutes in the first period, 5 in the second, and 2 in the third, and that would be your load management. But I think if they sign Kessel, that's like a top 2, 3 forward group in the league.
Dude, I have a great idea if you're Edmonton. You could put Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Milan Lucic, and Phil Kessel on a line and see how that goes. Can you imagine Lucic and Kessel on the same line in 2022? Like
Oh man.
that's awesome.
Yeah, Phil's gonna get those flashbacks from Boston when he was just a little kid coming in the league, and you're like, "Yeah, you're on my wing now. Help me get goals, free up space." Do you think they'll sign Bozak if they get Kessel as a way to have him, Hyman, and Kessel on like the third line?
That'd be incredible, man. If that happens, I'm gonna go get an Edmonton jersey. I'm gonna go to Hockey Life and get one. I mean, Bozak, if he is a free agent, why not? That boosts team morale, and that just forces guys to want to be there longer. Because even Hyman played with Bozak too. People forget that. So hey, dude, if you're gonna bring in a player that has history with other players, that's only a win, isn't it?
Be like another Leaf team over there. Toronto Maple Leafs West with Connor McDavid, and we got the Eastern one, so 2 teams to root for. I like it.
Watch, they're gonna also acquire Jake Gardner. No, that's not happening.
But any final NHL news or player rumors that you think aren't getting enough talk now in free agency?
I hear Kadri on the Islanders, and it's like, well, if it's confirmed, why has it not happened yet? Like, this is a thing that I've seen for 3 days in a row. And another name too that I want to quickly bring up because we're Leaf fans that has intrigued me and I haven't heard anything is Sandin. Because like this is a guy where we need him signed, and he's not. Do you see Sandin maybe holding out like what Nylander did? Because I don't know if there's a market, dude, for Muzzin and Hall at this point. Because in order for us to sign Sandin, we have to trade at least one of those guys.
Yeah, I think with Sandin, it's tough because a team could go in and say, "Yeah, we can sign him. We'll give him 5 million just so the Leafs don't match it." But I think the Leafs would still. I don't know. It might be crazy, but I think if the number gets like way out there, I think they'll let him go. But if it's like a 4 million, I think they'll match it, and then they would just have to force him to make a move right away with Muzzin. But I think that's what they're waiting for. Like keep Sandin like talking and tell him he's part of the plans, but at the same time try to move out Hall and Muzzin and just get some salary on the table because I don't know, their hands are tied there with what they can do. And all these guys now that looking on next year, there's still that cap freeze, so you don't know how much a cap's going to go up or down. So I think it's tough for Dubas right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's going to be tough regardless. So you think that Sandin is what, the max 4 million?
Yeah, I think 4, just because in case you have to retain $1 million on Muzzin, it's evens out to 5 and 5. But they gotta get moving there because we're in August 5th now, and preseason I think is another month away. So eventually they're gonna have training camp, and they're gonna want everybody in there, especially the way last year ended. So they gotta make a decision on Sandin pretty quickly.
Yeah, man. Listen, man. I'm not one to really panic in terms of the future of this team because we have Marner and Matthews. But when you look on the back end, we need Lilgren and Sandin, man. We need those guys because if we don't have them, well, we're just going to keep offloading D and changing our defensive core every year. That's not how Stanley Cup champions work. So it starts with 2. If you keep it with Lilgren and you have Riley for now and you bring in Sandin for the future, then that's a little bit more, I think, beneficial for the franchise. But as for now, man, you said it perfectly. With the cap freeze, I don't know what Dubas is going to do.
Well, on that note, we'll be optimistic there, and hopefully that by next week there's some clarity on that, and that Sandin is looking at taking another discount and saying, "I want to be a Leaf forever." So we'll be thoughtful that maybe this is blown out of proportion, but hopefully Dubas gets it turned around because we need to see a second round in Toronto Maple Leaf hockey in HD
Gotta
and
happen.
not standard quality tube TV. So be the first HD second round Leaf performance. Let's pray for that. But this has been another fun episode here. Maybe next week we'll find out about Sandin and the Leafs. Take
Let's
care.
get it.